The job market as it is now, it's not the same as it was, many decades ago when people would get jobs prior to the era of the internet or so forth. Even in the last 4 to 5 years, I think it's much different and it's much more difficult than it was back then. And there's a lot that is in play right now, and there's plenty of uncertainty about it. And I think that with what we're seeing, without looking at the hype online or so forth, a lot of people are in panic mode and they're thinking, what are they going to do? Or how are they going to be employed? Or how are they going to pay for the living expenses and so forth? I mean, these are questions that people have to figure out and think, okay, what am I going to do about it? And I will say that the job market is way much different now than it was 4 to 5 years ago. And keep in mind, we're in the middle of 2026, so just to keep that into context. But I wanted to talk about that today and really let you know how difficult it is. So I've mentioned in a few videos that I will be losing my primary employment come early to mid 2027. I do have advanced notice, so I got time, and that's given me the opportunity to look at the job market myself, and I've applied for a lot of job applications, no, a lot of jobs, or I filled out a lot of job applications online, and I have to say, I've had a lot of rejections. I've had a few. I've had a few of them where they've wanted to move me forward, or I've gotten some offers, but little did I realize later that they're all just nothing but scams, or they're more like MLM or multi-level marketing type of stuff, which I really don't want to get into. And so it is not easy when you have to filter out the scams and so forth, and that's what I've been subject to for the last several weeks. And there are plenty of jobs you could apply for online, but what I have gone through is there's a lot of scams as well that where you think maybe it may be legitimate, but really it's not. And if you're not into the MLM or the hard sales stuff, then it's even more difficult. So, and I will say, it's definitely not easy. It's easy to apply for jobs online. You just fill out an application within a matter of a few minutes, or even less than a minute if you were to just go on a site like Indeed or Glassdoor, and if you have an account set up and your resume is ready to go, you could just uh, apply within one click. But even that's become a contradiction as well, because there is a lot of downsides to that and so forth. And if you're just going to be, applying for jobs where, you get nowhere, or you think that maybe it's not for you, then yeah, it is difficult. So I've been going through a lot of that, and even right now, me starting early, really helps me narrow down to what I really should be looking for, or just filter out, the crap that is out there online. If I really narrow it down to something that might be relevant or could be much better for me in the long run, then I'll go about that route. So, but it's definitely not easy, and it's much different than it was a couple years ago. And to give you some context, what was happening, 4 to 5 years ago, there was, in the midst of, COVID after 2020, there was quite a big job boom in 2021 through 2023. And a lot of people got let go, they were furloughed, they lost their employment during COVID. But then as 2021 and 2022 went by, a lot of people got hired and they ended up, getting all these jobs that was easy to, get into. But now that a couple years have gone by, it's far much different now. And it's not that there are a lot of jobs available online, but there's a lot of fake job listings. There's a lot of scams and so forth. And so people who go for that route and they fall for it, they're going to end up being disappointed. And so this is something to keep in mind of. And I was looking up some numbers earlier as of mid 2026, and the numbers are not really that great when it comes to the job market. As of August of 2026, roughly 6.9 million people are unemployed. And the official unemployment, according to the US government, uh, it was at 4.2%, but now it went down to 4.1%. And the big reason is that it's not that a lot of people found jobs, but more people have left the labor force or they've left altogether. And the labor force participation rate, so the number of people who are actively working and are in the uh, labor force or they're in the workplace, is roughly at 61%. I think that number has been in the 60s range for the last 1 to 2 decades, but it used to be much higher in like the 70s and the 80s, but it's just been stagnant for a while, and uh, more people have left the workforce in the last year or two. So, and that's a problem as well because, what else are people doing when they leave the workforce? It could be it could be for other reasons. They could be going back to school. It could be for personal reasons. You never know. But, there are a lot of factors online that or out there that are not really taken into consideration of why people leave the labor force. But, there's a lot to keep in mind of, and you never know what is going on overall when people are looking for work. So those are some numbers out there, and I think that where we're at in the job market, not only is it different, but it's much more difficult to find a job these days. And people who have left the labor force, maybe they're discouraged, they have lost hope. I know for me, I haven't lost hope because it's all about finding something that will work in your best interests, that is like in your range. And in that case, that's hard to find. And you see why a lot of young people, and even people who retired early but then have to come out of retirement and maybe they're semi-retired right now, are working part-time work or a lot of customer service jobs. Whether that's being a barista or uh, bussing tables, being a waiter or waitress or a bartender. There's definitely some things that you can you could work it in the meantime. And although it's not the most ideal, it it's something that they have to do, that they're forced to, work a job because they gotta make money. And it's uh, it's not easy. And people may not want to do it or they don't want to, but they have to because they have to make income in some sort of way. But I think this has been something going on for even longer, even for the last 16 years, when in the aftermath of the Great Recession in 2008. Because service jobs or customer service jobs have been the norm for a long time now, and it doesn't seem to be improving. But even with that, a lot of the customer service jobs are easily automated, or when you have artificial intelligence in the picture, it can be, it's hard to look over. So, and I mentioned before that with the job market as is, I think where we're at today, I see more of a dying trend of finding traditional work, especially when you have AI and automation. Because the jobs that we're working now, a lot of the manual work, I firmly believe that a lot of it is going to be automated or taken over by AI in the next decade or two. Where I work at, basically, without going into further details, but we process paperwork, we process payments, and so forth, and that does require some manual work and data entry and so forth, and so forth. But I think that when you put that into consideration, with how advanced AI has become, over the next few years, AI can easily take over all that manual work, and they can, especially through data entry, capture stuff much quicker and more efficient and much more accurate as well. So there is a lot to consider about that, and with the work I have, it could easily be automated or taken over by AI. But I think that is going to be the new reality, and it's going to make people change the way how they think about work and what type of work they should be doing. Especially if you want to be on the creative side or want to do creative work, those are other routes that you can take at the moment. But I do know that as of 2026, it's much different. I think people who are looking for work are stressed out, and they're much more concerned than they've ever been, and it's uh it's a lot of panic mode online from what I've seen. But is all hope lost in that case? I don't think so. There is, things are going to have to change, and people are going to have to change about how to look at the job market altogether, because it won't last forever, and people do have to find a way to make income. Whatever that ends up being, it can be one where it can help them become better people, or even if it is through doing something much better than they are now, if they do work a job, then so be it. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I do know that there are going to be better solutions down the road, and that is yet to be determined or remain to be seen. And whatever the case is, uh, I always tend to be on the optimistic side that it'll work out in the long run. But I also know that I'm a short-term pessimist, and I do know that it's going to be difficult for a time, and it's going to be uh, not easy. So whatever it is, it may be a rough transition for a lot of people, but in the long term, it'll be better. That's what I think. But the main takeaway from this video is the job market is so much different today. And if you're someone who is actively looking for work, do keep in mind that, you just want to easily fill out applications or kind of be like in that desperate mode looking for a job because you could easily be disappointed by a lot of the stuff that is put out online. You definitely got to be careful because I'm at that point now where I'm trying to be a little bit more focused on what I'm trying to find and what else it could be and so forth. So you really got to do your research, take the time to find something that could suit you and it could work out. So, but that's what I want to talk about today. It's not the most exciting thing, especially if you're someone who is looking for employment or you see the job market not getting any better. But I just think that we're going to be in a rough transition when it comes to this topic. And whatever that ends up being, I always wish for the best, but I always want to keep my expectations low, and it may not be the best in a few years from now. But that's all I got for today. If you got something out of this video and you want to hit me up in the comment section, feel free to leave them below. You can ask questions on this. I'd be happy to start a conversation. And if you want to go deeper with me and you want to explore more of these topics or kind of other ways of how you can live a better life, then feel free to sign up for my email list below via the link. There is a link in the video description where you can get on my email list, and I go more in depth on these topics. So, other than that, that's all I got for now. And until next time, peace.